Let me ask about power. So, building super intelligent systems, even if it's not in the near term, I think Meta as is one of the few companies, if not the main company, that will develop the super intelligent system. And you are a man who's at the head of this company. Building AGI might make you the most powerful man in the world. Do you worry that that power will corrupt you?
What a question. Look, I think realistically, this gets back to the open source things that we talked about before, which is I don't think that the world will be best served by any small number of organizations having this without it being something that is more broadly available. And I think if you look through history, it's when there are these sort of like unipolar advances and things that, and like power imbalances, that they're do end up being kind of weird situations. So this is one of the reasons why I think open source is generally the right approach. And I think it's a categorically different question today when we're not close to superintelligence. I think that there's a good chance that even once we get closer to superintelligence, open sourcing remains the right approach, even though I think at that point it's a somewhat different debate. But I think part of that is that is, I think one of the best ways to ensure that the system is as secure and safe as possible. Because it's not just about a lot of people having access to it; it's the scrutiny that kind of comes with being with building an open source system. But I think that this is a pretty widely accepted thing about open source is that you have the code out there, so anyone can see the vulnerabilities. Anyone can kind of mess with it in different ways. People can spin off their own projects and experiment in a ton of different ways. And the net result of all of that is that the systems just get hardened and get to be a lot safer and more secure. So I think that there's a chance that ends up being the way that this goes too, a pretty good chance, and that having this be open both leads to a healthier development of the technology and also leads to a more balanced distribution of the technology in a way that strike me as good values to aspire to.
So to you, there's risks to open sourcing, but the benefits outweigh the risks. At the two, it's interesting. I think the way you put it well, that there's a different discussion now than when we get closer to the to development of superintelligence of the benefits and risks of open sourcing.
Yeah, and to be clear, I feel quite confident in the assessment that open sourcing models now is net positive. I think there's a good argument that in the future it will be too, even as you get closer to superintelligence. But I've certainly have not decided on that yet, and I think that it becomes a somewhat more complex set of questions that I think people will have time to debate and will also be informed by what happens between now and then and to make those decisions. We don't have to necessarily just debate that in theory right now.